Hey there, welcome back. So in this video, we'll try to complete whatever is pending for this project. So and let's wind up in this video. Okay. The first thing I wanted to change is this. You see here. So if we are logged in, we should not showcase this login button. So first, let's correct that. So heading back to our code base. Okay. So to the header dot. So if you go to layout folder, inside components folder in header.tsx, this is where we should configure the thing to change once we logged in. Okay, so the checks here is we will get a session from using the use session hook. Okay, and then using that, if the session is not null, then we will showcase kind of a dashboard and other things which other than the login thing. Okay, so first let me go to header component and get the data. So data, and rename it to as a session, and also the status using the use session hook. Okay, yep. So now we'll make use of this session object, and accordingly we will render the login button or other buttons. Okay, so here just beneath this prompts section, I'll make use of this session. Okay, if session is true, then we are going to show the buttons like my gallery and dashboard, and also the sign out icon. Okay, so let's wrap everything inside the fragment. So and use the tooltip component from ChakraUI, and has arrow and label. So label, let's name this as public gallery, and the button inside this would be the my gallery button. So the href here will going to build the gallery page, so we'll give that endpoint here. For now we have not built that, so I'll leave it as empty. Okay, and make it act as a link component. Okay, yep. And the color scheme, I'd give it as a beach. Variant to as ghost. Okay, and the size, let's make it as a small button, and the text of this button would be my gallery. Yep. So this is one button. So after this the other button we're going to show is the dashboard button. So clicking on that should redirect the user to the dashboard page. So let's wrap inside a button component, and here href would be slash dashboard. Okay, and make it act as a link component from next. Okay, and the variant, I'll give it as a brand. Size, let's make it as a small itself, and the text of this button would be dashboard. Yep. Then after this we're going to display a logout icon so that user can log out of the application. Okay, so after this button, so I'm going to use the tooltip and make as arrow as and also label. I would name this as logout. Okay, and icon button. So icon button, and give area label for this as a logout, and icon that we'll be making use of is logout icon. So this one, and size will keep it as small itself, and the color scheme I'd go with a beach. Okay, yep. And variant to ghost. On click, I'm going to call the sign out function from next start. Okay, and the callback URL would be the home page. Okay, yep. So this is the icon button. Okay, and let's close this. Fine. So yep. So this is if the session is not null. Okay, if it is null, we have to showcase the login button. So let's take this and replace here. So here, so I'm going to use this. Okay, so this is the how we are going to change the buttons accordingly if the user is logged in or not. So now let's head back to the browser and check now. Okay, now you see since we are logged in, the things that we are showcasing is the my gallery, dashboard, and the logout button. Okay, yep. So that is done. So now the next thing I wanted to do is handle the functionality of this things. Okay, first we'll so whatever APIs that we have to configure in a shortcode component, let's complete that. So heading back to code base, okay, to the shortcode component. Okay, so as of now we have written two APIs, one to bookmark the bookmark to the gallery page, one is to fetch the output URL, short output URL, and update the DB accordingly. So the rest thing we have to do the same for HD. Okay, so we are going to do that. So first the bookmark we have written, so let's make use of that. So that is so where for the heart icon button. So if you go here, yep, so here on click, so this is where we'll be calling that the above API so function we have written, which talks to the DB API and updates the bookmarked value in our database. Okay, so here I'm going to pass in short dot bookmarked. Okay, so here the toggle value will be provided, and accordingly the bookmarked value in our DB would be changed. Okay, yep. So and also here accordingly, if it's a loading pointer events, if it's loading it will be none, or else it will be auto. Yep. So now the API call to bookmark the particular short is completed. So now we have to write the API points to create HD image URL, as well as the get the HD image URL. So first let's write that endpoint inside our prediction ID API folder. Okay, so if you go here prediction ID, so we are going to create a new file called hd.ts. okay, and in that we are going to write two APIs based on the request method. If it is a post and if it is a get, for both we are going to handle in this file. Okay, so let's create the file hd.ts. okay, so as usual let's create a handler first. So const handler and async. So the input params would be the request, which is of type next API request, and response, so this is of type next API response. Okay, and so the query params that will be receiving, obviously it is the project ID and the prediction ID. Okay, so project ID would be request dot query dot ID as a string, and similarly the prediction ID, so it is request dot query dot prediction ID as string. Okay, and then we're going to get the session object, and accordingly okay, let's by calling the get session function, okay, and passing in our request object. Fine. So if the session dot user is not found, then we're going to say you are not authenticated. It's pretty standard for all the API calls which we wanted to be protected. Okay, so status is 401 and the response that would be sending is message as you are not authenticated. Okay, so not authenticated. Okay, fine. If not, so first we are going to get the details of the project and the short. Okay, so const project await. So let's import db from db core db.project.find first auth row. Okay, so here we are going to query based on the project id. So project id is project so sorry, it is id. Okay, id, so it is project id, and the user id will get it from session.user id. Okay, similarly we'll get the short details. So await db.short.find first auth row, and here query based on the project id. So project id is project.id. Okay, and this id would be prediction id. So we'll get the short details here as well. Now here accordingly, if the request method is post, we do some writes, and if it's a get, so we do some other logic. Okay, so let's handle both of them here. So if request dot method is equals to post. Okay, so first we will check if short dot hd status is not equals to no, then we're going to reply saying that 4K already applied to this image. Okay, so return response dot status 400. Okay, and the message that would be sending is 4K already applied. So 4K already applied. Okay, so this is what we'll be showcasing if the hd status is already yes. Okay, fine. So then now we are going to post the data to the replicate client and try to get the hd url. Okay, so const data await replicate client dot post. So the endpoint is api dot replicate dot com slash v1 slash predictions. Okay, and the input data that would be sending is first image is short dot output url and upscale to 8 and face upsample as true and code form of fidelity as 1. Okay, so these are the params that we should be passing, and after that version. So version is process dot env dot replicate hd version model id. So this value should be provided in our environment variable. I'll eventually tell you how to get this value. Okay, Yep. So this is it. So after this we are going to update the short table to hd status to pending, and prediction id, hd prediction id also will be assigning. Okay, fine. So short await db dot short dot update, where id is short dot id, and the data that will be updating is here. First hd status to as pending, and hd prediction id to data dot id. Okay, this is how we are going to update the hd status in our short table and also the prediction id, and we are going to return that short object. So return .json, response.json, and send this short back. Okay, fine. This is to create to get the hd status and also the prediction id. Okay, fine. Now the get method. So if request dot method is equals to get, first we want to check the status of the short. If it is not equals to pending, then I'm going to send the message as 4K already applied. Okay, so we will check that first. So that is if short dot hd status is not equals to pending. Okay, if it's not equals to pending, so we will know that the hd status is already applied. So that is 4K already applied for this. So I'm going to return response dot status as 400, and message json message as 4K already applied. Okay, so this is the message will be sending. If not, we are going to make a call to replicate client. Okay, so data, let's rename this to the prediction. Okay, and await, so replicate client dot get https api dot replicate.com /v1 /predictions, and pass in our prediction id, that is short dot hd prediction id. Okay, yep. So if prediction dot output is present, output, then we are going to update our short table. Okay, so await db dot short dot update, where id is short dot id, and the data that we are going to update is hd status. So hd status now will be updated to the processed. Okay, and hd output url will be nothing but prediction dot output. Okay, so this is how we are going to get the hd output url. Okay, fine. Then after this we are just going to return the short object. So response.json, pass in the short value. Okay, if not, so if either of these methods are trying to call this apis, we'll just return method not allowed. Okay, so response dot status, so the status code that would be sending is 405, and the json message that would be sending is not allowed. So method not allowed. Okay, yep. And finally export the handler function. So export default handler. Okay, so this is the API to get the HD output URL and also the post to replicate kind. Okay, both the post and get methods. So now heading back to our shortcode components, and let's make use of this both APIs. Okay, and configure them here. So first thing, we are going to call this post method. So just beneath this, I'm going to name the function name as create HD. So mutate, so rename this to as create HD. Okay, and is loading where value I will set rename again it to the is creating HD. Okay, and use the use mutation hook from React query, and the name of this ID that we would give is create HD, and pass in our short ID. Okay, yep. So after this we are going to use the Axios client and make a call to our API which we just configured, and this would expect the return type as short. Okay, yep. So here the endpoint is API slash project slash query.id and predictions slash then initial short id, which is nothing but prediction id slash hd. Okay, this is the endpoint. Okay, then after this in the callback on success callback function, we're going to receive the response which is the short. Okay, and set into our short variable, so that is response dot data dot short. So this is how we're going to make a post call to the endpoint which we have just created, and at the same time get the make a get call to get the HD output URL. Okay, so here just beneath this I'm going to use the use query hook. Okay, and the ID that we would be passing for this is short HD, and use the short ID, so initial short. Okay, initial short dot id. Okay, and then after this just let's write in separate line. Okay, so now let's use the Axios client and make the get request. Okay, again this would expect return type of short object, so let's mention that here short. Okay, and the endpoint which we have just written is this API slash projects slash query.id, and then predictions, and then initial short dot id, which is prediction id slash hd. Okay, this is the endpoint. Okay, so here so we are going to receive, then so I'm going to get the response dot data. Okay, so here after this in the callback function, so here we're going to mention the refetch interval and also the refetch on Windows status when it's going to be enabled, and initial data on the on success callback what we are going to do. Okay, so first the refetch interval, so it completely depends on so the data. So here until we have the HD status is not equals to pending, we are going to make for a call for every 5 seconds. Okay, so that is data dot short dot hd status is not equals to pending false, or else we are going to make for every 5 seconds. Okay, and the refetch on Windows focus false, and this would be enabled only if the short hd status is pending. So yep, and the initial data would be our initial shot, that is initial shot, and on success callback function, so we're going to get the response and set that response into our short variable, that is response dot short, and if response dot short dot hd output url is present, we are going to set is hd value also to true. Okay, so these are the two API calls. Now we will make use of that create hd function. So going here to the down, so the tooltips that we have created for hd is here. So if hd status is no, that is when we are going to call that create hd function which we have just created. So here let's call this function which will call the API to API which we have just configured. Okay, so that is where we are going to use create hd, and also for reuse the styling. So here the above tooltip, that is this one. So on click here we are going to trigger the callback function that we are receiving as input, that is handle seed, and pass in our short object. Okay, so that is it for this function. So now after this we are going to create a gallery page. So once clicking on that heart icon, that should be reflected in that gallery page. Okay, so let's create that gallery page. So let's create a new folder inside the pages folder. So here let's create a new folder called gallery, and inside let's create one file with a unique user id. Okay, user id dot tsx. Okay, fine. So here we are going to configure the logic to render the gallery the shots whichever is bookmarked varying on the user IDs. Okay, so let's name the component name as gallery, and the input param that this should expect is the shots. Okay, and the shots is of type, and in this, okay, we are going to get two things. Okay, list of two things, blur hash, string, and output url. Output url which is again of a string, and this would be array of this both. Okay, blur hash and output url. Okay, fine. So okay, now in this we're going to render the UI. Okay, so return wrap everything inside a page container. Okay, and use this simple grid component. So simple grid columns, let's give this, if it's a small screen, let's give it as a 1, if it's a if it's a base 1, if it's a small as 2, and if it's a medium and above as 3. Okay, and the spacing I'd give this 6. Okay, fine. So now let's loop through the shorts list. Okay, shorts dot map, and for each object this is what we are going to render. So use the box component and some styling for this. The key would be the short.output URL, that is output URL, and overflow will hide it, so hidden. And the background color, let's make this as white. Border radius be it large, okay, and width 100%. Position, let's make this as relative. Okay, fine. Now inside this, the image, okay, so let's make use of the image component from Next, okay, and here let's give some styling for this as well. So placeholder would be blur, and blur data URL would be short.output URL or placeholder, and quality I'd go with 100, okay, and alt the name short.output URL, same for the source as well, so short.output URL, and this both cannot be null, okay, fine. Then width and height I'd give 512 for both, so yep, and unoptimized, okay, yes. So yeah, so this is the images that just image component that will be showcasing, okay. Just after this, out of this simple grid, if there are any no shots in this gallery yet, so we will showcase a text saying that no shots present in the gallery, okay. So let's make that check first. If shots dot length is 0, we are going to render this section. So wrap everything inside a box component, and for this let's give border radius as XL, and the padding in all directions as 10. Background color, let's make this as white, and text align center. Okay, so the text that will be showcasing is no shots in the gallery, okay, yep. So yeah, so now in the so this is a separate page, so we have to get the shots as a prop, so we'll write the get server side props function, okay. So export const get server side props, okay, make this as async function, and the input param would be the get server side's context object, okay, props object. And here first we are going to get the user ID from query parameter. So user ID is context dot query dot user ID as string, okay, and make the call to our DB. So await DB dot short, okay, let's import DB, yep. So find many, and here we are going to select output URL and the blur hash, and order by created at in descending order, and the condition checks where the output URL is not null, Okay, and its bookmarked value is true, and the project user ID should be equals to whatever the query param we have received. So equals user ID. Okay, this should be the capital P project, right? Yep. Okay, so this is going to fetch the shorts that are needed, okay, for us, and let's serialize that using a super JSON. So JSON, let's rename this to the serialized shorts. You make use of super JSON dot serialize, pass in that shorts object, okay, and finally return the props shorts, okay, and pass in the serialized shorts, and finally export our component default gallery. Okay, fine. So the gallery page required for us is ready, and let's go back to our header component, and there we have to configure the URL when the user clicks on this gallery section, right? So here the URL is /gallery/ the ID, okay, so which is /gallery. So let's wrap in brackets because we have to pass in the dynamic value /gallery/ session dot user ID. Okay, fine. So yep, so now the gallery page needed for us is ready. Let's go and check it out. Okay, so going here, so the gallery page is ready. Now we don't have any bookmarked shorts, so now if we go, we should see no shorts present. Okay, so clicking on this, yep, you see no shorts in the gallery is seen. So okay, so going back, so let's bookmark this. Okay, so if I go to gallery now, yep, I should be able to see the image, so which is what we are able to see. Okay, and so if I bookmark this also we should be able to see. Yes, okay, let's unbookmark this and check it again. Yeah, so the gallery page is working. So now we have to check out this and this download thing. So if I click on this, we would be able to download. Okay, so you just have to save image as. Okay, so this download functionality is also working fine. So yep, and this bookmark is working, and this we will check generate in 4K, which we will check. And this reuse style, you see here, this is what I was talking about. The prompt that was used for this will be populated automatically into our text area box, and also the image here, this is where we'll be showcasing that new shot use will use the same style as this image. Okay, and if you want to change the again update the content of that, we can go ahead and update. So here again, if I pass in image, so you see here, so let's use this image. So this has to be updated to our S3 bucket. So you see here, as this is what I was talking about. So if the short template is not null, this is what we'll be showcasing, and this is for if you're using our image as a model reference. So both things will be showcasing like this, and we would be let's try to generate one image. Okay, yep, so that is so you see in this short card. Okay, so this reuse style is working, and this download icon is working, and 4K we are ready to check, and bookmark is working. Okay, fine. And also this copy prompt also, see it is copied, and if you go here and paste it, it's working. Okay, so copy prompt action is also working, so fine. So now the thing pending here is, if we go to our prompt assist, so here you see the generator. This is where we have to make one more API call to call the OpenAI completion API. So that we will configure now. Okay, so we will configure this API. So first let's write an API for that. So what I will do is, let's go back to our code base. So here inside our APIs section, okay, and inside this projects ID section, I'm going to create a new file called prompter.ts. That is where we'll be making a call to OpenAI. Okay, so let's first make a client of that. So here we had one utils where we created a clients which we are interacting to. So replicate S3 client we have created. So similarly we will create a client to talk to OpenAI. Okay, so let's create a new file there called OpenAI.ts. okay, so here I'm going to create a new file called OpenAI.ts. okay, and in this so we have to install the library. So OpenAI, so yep, so it is installed. So the things that, so let's name this name first configuration. So configuration by making use of the configuration function. Okay, and here we have to pass out the API key. So API key I will configure in the environment variables. Okay, and I will show you how to get this. Okay, fine. So OpenAI API key. Okay, fine. Then after this we are going to make ready the OpenAI object, so client. Okay, by making use of this OpenAPI function and passing the configuration object. Okay, and export this OpenAI. Okay, now the client is ready, so now we can go ahead and use this. Okay, so as I said, so in this ID folder I'm going to create new file called prompter.ts. okay, so here we are going to make a call to get completion API of this OpenAI client and get the prompt suggestion for the user. So first thing, obviously we have to write the handler function. So handler and async, so to input param, so request which is of type next API request. Okay, and the response next API response. Okay, yep, and here the the ID that we'll be getting is the project ID. So project ID, let's get it from our query param. So request dot query dot ID as string. Okay, and the standard procedure to get the session object, make a call to the session function and by passing in the request object, sorry, param. Okay, and if there is no session dot user, we are going to say that you are not authenticated. Okay, fine. So let's quickly write that response dot status, which is 401, and the message that would be sending is not authenticated. So message not authenticated. Okay, yep. So if not, okay, first we are going to get the details of the project. So let's get the project await. So let's import the DB from DB core. So here import DB, and make a query on projects table. So here find first throw and get the project details. So ID is nothing but the project ID, and user ID is session dot user ID. Okay, fine. After this the keyword from the body will be received to this endpoint. So let's store in variable called keyword. Okay, body dot keyword, okay, as a string. Okay, fine. Here we'll check for the credits of that OpenAI. Okay, if a prompt wizard credits is less than 0 or 1, okay, so we will say that no credit. Okay, so we'll return the status as 400. Okay, and the message that would be sending back is the success as false, and message that I would be sending is no credit. Okay, this is if the credits to query the OpenAI completion API is not enough. Okay, now inside try catch block, so let's make call. So completion await OpenAI. So let's import this dot create completion, and the model name that we would be passing is text DaVinci 003, which is a powerful model, and the temperature that I'm going to set is 0.7, and the max tokens, let's restrict it to 256, and the top probability we want just 1, and the prompt is, so you can pass the seed prompt, so that you can do prompt engineering and get the better text. Okay, so here that you can configure again in the environment variables, that is OpenAI API seed prompt. So seed prompt. Okay, fine. So these variables will configure, and after this the keyword that we receive in the body, so which is keyword, so this is what we'll be passing as the prompt to the create completion function. Okay, and after this we are going to get the prompt. Let's just store in variable called prompt. Okay, that is completion dot data dot choices, and here first index text, and we're going to trim it. Okay, so no empty spaces will be there. Okay, fine. So once we get the prompt, we are going to update the prompt wizard credits by decrementing by 1. So if prompt is there, so project await db.project.update, where id is project.id, and then data that we're going to update is prompt wizard credits, so that is decrement project dot by 1. Okay, so this is how we are going to update the credits of the prompt wizard credits, and after this we are going to return the status as 200, and also return the prompt and prompt wizard credits as a response of this API. So response dot json, okay, 200, and inside this json this is what we'll be sending, that is prompt, and then the prompt wizard credits, pass in the project.prompt wizard credits. Okay, so sorry, this has to be status. Yes. Okay, fine. So this is inside the try block. So if anything failed, okay, we'll send inside our catch block. Okay, so status that we would be sending is 400, and JSON just one property success also false. Okay, and then finally export our handler function. Okay, so this is the API call in order to get the prompt from OpenAI completion function. Okay, fine. So that now let's go back to our prompt wizard panel. Okay, so this is where we will configure to talk to the API which we have just created. So we just above here, let's create a one function called create prompt. Okay, so we'll make use of the use mutation hook. So here the function name is create prompt, and is loading will rename again this is loading prompt. Okay, and use mutation and give the ID name as a create prompt. Okay, and the input param that this would be expecting is keyword which is of type string, and make a call to post method of Axios client. So here the API endpoint is API/projects/ here we have to get the ID of the project. So let's make use of the use router. So here let's extract the query object using the use router hook. Okay, yep, and here I'm going to pass in the ID of this, and the endpoint is prompter. Okay, yep, and here the body param that we should be passing is keyword. Okay, fine, and after this inside the on success callback function we'll be receiving the response which is the prompt as well as the prompt wizard credits. So that we are going to destructure here. So the prompt, so this would be response.data. Okay, and set this value into our prompt input reference dot current value to the prompt. Okay, yep, and then update our prompt wizard credits, that is response dot data dot prompt wizard credits. Okay, yes, then after this we will be setting the keyword to as empty value, and also we will close this. Yep, so this is the create prompt function. So that we will be calling here if there is a keyword on clicking on submitting on this button. Okay, so let's create a prompt and pass in the keyword. Okay, so this is what will be, this will be calling. So we'll go and check this. Okay, so in order to get the API of API key of OpenAI, so you have to go to your platform.openai.com and API keys section in your account. So there you can create and make use the key and use that key in our environment variable. Okay, so for that so yeah, so I have configured the API in our environment folder by taking it from here, and also I have given a sample seed prompt. Okay, you can give whatever you want there. Okay, I'll showcase you what I have given for now. So now let's head back to our browser and try to make use of this and see what it is going to generate for us. Okay, so here I will remove this. Okay, so prompt assist, so here I will just give it as cowboy. Okay, and click on this generate. Okay, I think there is some problem. Yes, okay, session ID is not being recognized. Okay, so okay, let's go back to, so this is how I have given the OpenAPI seed prompt and the OpenAI API key, and for now I have given it the seed prompt as like this: describe and elaborate about the following keyword. So there in that input you just have to give the keyword like a cowboy, Iron Man, or anything, Spider-Man, whatever you want it to be. Okay, fine. So now let's go to the API prompt file which you have written, and for now take out this check. Okay, and user ID, so we have used the user ID here, so let's take that. Okay, so I will use this here. Yep, so now let's head back and try to, okay, now the session is identified. Let's go back and do not change this. Now let's check if the error still persists. Okay, so even now the session is called. Okay, fine. So I'm going to this and I will enter the keyword as cowboy and click on this generate. Okay, I don't know, in this section alone we are not able to get the value into this user. Okay, fine. So let's redo what we had. Okay, so now let's head back to the browser and check again. So now I'll click on generate. Yep, the call is successful. Okay, so yep, call is successful, and the content is generated and it's automatically populated into our text area. That is here again. So the beautiful generation will happen only if the seed prompt is proper, so you can use accordingly to whatever you feel it would generate best to generate the image. Okay, yeah, so probably this is it mostly. Okay, and I think, yeah, this is pretty much it, the overall application, and I think you guys learned a lot. I learned a lot while building this. Okay, and okay, you see here these are the generated images, and yep, this is the pretty much application that I wanted to teach. I wanted to put it out in my channel. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please subscribe, and also if you guys want to showcase how to deploy this, it is pretty much straightforward. You just have to deploy in a browser platform. Only things that you have to change is the next public URL, whatever the deployed URL is there, that you have to configure, and at the same time you have to host your Postgres SQL DB in a remote servers, be it AWS, RDS, PostgreSQL server, or Superbase, or in any cloud, be it in Azure or in GCP. So you just have to have a remote Postgres SQL server DB connection string, and then it will be easier for you to deploy it. Okay, yeah, so this is it, and this is the end of this project. Thank you so much. If I missed anything, and if you have anything where the part is not clear, please feel free to comment, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you.